Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gretchen and today I want to talk about my most anticipated books that are coming out in the month of June. So as always, there are a lot of books, and what I do with these videos is I break them down week by week. So the first week that we have new releases coming out in the States in June is the week of June 4th, and there are 4 titles that I want to talk about. So the first title is called Enlightenment by Sarah Perry, and the reason first and foremost that I am so excited about this book is that I loved Sarah Perry's book The Essex Serpent, and I just found that book to be so mysterious and alluring, and I just really got along with her writing. And I don't know much about this new book, but as soon as I saw that Sarah Perry had a new one, I was immediately on board. And then I read the synopsis and I was even more on board. So the synopsis says, Thomas Hart and Grace Macaulay have lived all their lives in the small Essex town of Aldley. Though separated in age by 3 decades, the pair are kindred spirits torn between their commitment to religion and their desire to explore the world beyond their small Baptist community. It is 2 romantic relationships that will end their friendship. And in the wake of this rupture, Thomas develops an obsession with a vanished 19th century astronomer said to haunt a nearby manor, and Grace flees entirely for London. Over the course of 20 years, by coincidence and design, Thomas and Grace will find their lives brought back into orbit as the mystery of the vanished astronomer unfolds into a devastating tale of love and scientific pursuit. Thomas and Grace will ask themselves what it means to love and be loved, what is fixed and what is mutable, how much of our fate is predestined and written in the stars, and whether they can find their way back to each other. So that has so many things in it that just sound amazing. I love the mysterious element. Looking back to my love of The Essex Serpent, it had that underlying current of mystery and intrigue. And what I remember most from The Essex Serpent is how atmospheric Sarah Perry's writing was. So this sounds like it is gonna deliver the same type of things, and I'm super excited about that. Now, the next book that I am looking forward to that sounded really interesting to me is a book called Swift River by Essie Chambers, and this is being published by Simon & Schuster. So this book says, it's the summer of 1987 in Swift River, and Diamond Newberry is learning how to drive. Ever since her pop disappeared 7 years ago, she and her mother hitchhike everywhere they go. But that's not the only reason Diamond stands out. She's teased relentlessly about her weight, and since Pop's been gone, she is the only Black person in all of Swift River. This summer, Ma is determined to declare Pop legally dead so that they can collect his life insurance money, get their house back from the bank, and finally move on. But when Diamond receives a letter from a relative she's never met, key elements of Pop's life are uncovered, and she is introduced to 2 generations of African-American Newberry women whose lives span the 20th century and reveal a much larger picture of prejudice and abandonment, of love and devotion. As pieces of their shared past become clearer, Diamond gains a sense of her place in the world and in her family, but how will what she's learned of the past change her future? So that just sounds really compelling to me. It's a coming of age story. It's a discovery of oneself. It's got a secret past kind of vibe to it. So all of those elements make this book really intriguing for me, and I am definitely looking forward to getting to this one. So the third book that is being released June 4th that I am looking forward to is actually a humor book, and it is called Birds Aren't Real by Peter McInode and Connor Gaydos. So like I said, this is a humor book, which isn't something that I think that I talk about terribly often, but I do enjoy a good humorous book. This says, have you ever seen a baby pigeon? You haven't, have you? No one has, not in many, many years. They used to be everywhere. You couldn't walk out of the front door in New York City in the 1930s without seeing dozens of those little guys scurrying around. Today, there are millions of grown-up pigeons in New York, but not a baby pigeon to be seen. That's because they come out of the factory as adults. This is one of the many smoking guns of the bird-drone surveillance crisis. Since 1959, the deep state has mercilessly slaughtered over 12 billion birds and replaced them with identical drones that are designed to spy on private citizens and report their every action directly to the government. From pet canaries to Sesame Street, the shadowy figures that pull the strings have infiltrated every aspect of our society, making a mockery of civil liberties while the American people live in blissful ignorance until now. In Birds Aren't Real, whistleblowers Peter McInode and Connor Gaydos trace the roots of a political conspiracy so vast and well hidden that it almost seems like an elaborate hoax. These hero bird truthers have risked life and limb to compile and disseminate a treasure trove of information about the origins of the surveillance crisis, its spread, and the patriots who are on the front lines today, raising awareness and working to reclaim America as the land of the free. This urgent manifesto features a host of useful illustrations, activities, and leaked classified documents that will convince even the most outspoken skeptic that birds aren't real. The truth is out there. Will you stand and fight before it's too late? So obviously this book isn't taking itself too seriously. The main point of this book is to read it and have a good laugh. And the fact that I also love birds is funny. So I should be a pretty good target audience for this book. And I hope that it lives up to the potential for it that I have in my mind. And also I love the fact that it says this urgent manifesto features a host of useful illustrations, activities, and leaked classified documents. So illustrations and activities immediately piqued my interest. I can only imagine what kind of shenanigans these authors are going to try to get into. So I'm looking forward to a good laugh with that one. So the next book that I want to talk about is a book called A Cage Went in Search of a Bird, 10 Kafka-esque Stories. And this is by multiple authors and it is being published by Catapult. So there's a couple things that immediately stood out to me. First of all, that these are short stories and they are Kafka-esque. So that immediately appeals to me. The second thing is that this is by multiple big hit authors that are contributing to this book. And some of those authors include Tommy Orange, Ali Smith, we have Naomi Alderman, we have Helen Oyemi. So there are a lot of heavy hitters that are contributing to this book and it just sounds like it is going to be a fun time. So definitely looking forward to this one. So next we're moving on to the week of June the 11th and there are 3 books that I would like to talk about. And the first is called Margo's Got Money Troubles and this is by Rufi Thorpe and it's being published by Margo. So this book sounds like it's gonna be a fun ride, but also like it has the potential to have some pretty heartwarming or heartfelt moments sprinkled throughout it. So it also sounds pretty quirky. So this book follows our main character, Margo, and Margo comes from a pretty eccentric past. Her mother was a Hooters waitress and her father was an ex-pro wrestler. So she never really felt like she had many prospects in her life or that she could really make a living on her own. She does attend a junior college where she ends up having an affair with an English professor and she ends up getting pregnant. And although the well-meaning people in her life tried to convince her to not follow through with the pregnancy, she decides that she will and she keeps the baby and all in hopes that there is something bigger and better out there for her in her life. So then we move to Margo being a young mom. She's unemployed, she doesn't have any money coming in, and she really needs to start making some money so she can survive. She takes her dad up on the offer of him moving in with her and in exchange for childcare, and she decides she is going to make her money by creating an OnlyFans site, and she then engages the help of her father and his pro wrestling background to help win her fans over. So this book sounds like it is going to be pretty quirky. There's going to be a lot of hilarity in it, I am sure. Probably a lot of hijinks throughout it. As a matter of fact, I think the dad's name is Jinx, is his wrestling name. So you can only expect that there is going to be a lot of humor in this book. But like I said at the beginning, I also suspect there's going to be a lot of heart in this as well. And it sounds like it's going to be a fun, lighthearted read for the summer. So the next book that I want to talk about is called The Abyss by Fernando Vallejo, and this is being published by New Directions. And this is a piece of queer autobiographical fiction, and it follows Fernando as he returns to his brother in Colombia, Dario, that is dying from AIDS. So from what I understand, it's a reflection on the two, and they are recounting their wilder days and kind of reminiscing on all that they have been through, while Fernando is ultimately coming to terms with the death, or the inevitable death, of his brother. So this once again sounds like a very compelling and heartbreaking book. I'm sure it's gonna bring out the tears. I can already tell that it will, and it sounds like it's going to be another excellent book put out by New Directions, and I'm very excited to read this one. And the final book that I want to talk about that's being released during the week of June 11th is Out of the Sierra, A Story of Raramuri Resistance by Victoria Blanco, and this is being released by Coffee House Press. Now, this is a piece of narrative nonfiction, and it sounds like it is going to be a very emotional ride. What it says about the book on the Coffee House Press website is, the Raramuri people of Chihuahua, Mexico make up one of the largest indigenous tribes of North America. Renowned for maintaining their language and cultural traditions in the face of colonization, they have weathered numerous hardships, climate disaster, poverty, cultural erasure that have only worsened during the 21st century. Based on more than a decade of oral history and participatory fieldwork, Out of the Sierra paints a vivid and vital portrait of Raramuri displacement. When drought leaves the Gutierrez family with nothing to eat, they are faced with a choice many Raramuris must make: remain and hope for rain and aid, or leave their sacred homeland behind. Louise, Martina, and their children choose to journey from their home in the Sierra Madre Mountains toward a new and uncertain future in a government-funded indigenous settlement. So first of all, my apologies. Apparently my neighbor decided to start mowing their lawn in the middle of all of that. So sorry. Second, I think that this book sounds like it is going to be so good. I love the fact that this is narrative nonfiction. I am so glad that we have a piece of nonfiction so that we can learn facts about their lives and their culture. This is an indigenous tribe that I am not familiar with, so anytime I have an opportunity to learn about a new indigenous tribe that I was not aware of, I will always jump at that chance. So really looking forward to this one. Okay, so we had a couple of pretty serious books that were being released during the week of June the 11th. Moving on to the week of June 18th, we have some that seem a little more lighthearted, which is a good thing. We need that balance. So the first book that I want to talk about is a book called Sandwich by Catherine Newman, and this is being published by Harper. And this one sounds like it's gonna be a fun time. So it says, for the past 2 decades, Rocky has looked forward to her family's yearly escape to Cape Cod. Their rustic beach town rental has been the site of sweet memories, its quirky furniture and mismatched pots and pans greeted like old friends. Now, sandwiched between her children who are adult enough to be fun, but still young enough to need her, and her parents who are alive and healthy, Rocky wants to preserve this golden moment forever. The one precious week when everything is in balance, everything is in flux. But every family has its secrets and hers is no exception. Dun dun dun. With her body in open revolt and surprises invading her peaceful haven, the perfectly balanced seesaw of Rocky's life is tipping towards change. So first of all, any books set in New England or especially like Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard type areas, I am all for in the summer. That is just like the most idyllic place to be in the summertime. So I love books that are set in that area. And second of all, like, I love coming of age novels with, you know, kids growing up into adults, but I also love those books of middle-aged people having their maybe midlife crisis, or maybe in this case, their midlife awakening. So I think that this is going to be a fun book, and I think that this is another example of a great summer read. So the next book sounds like it's going to be one that is right up my alley. And for any of you out there that truly love books and are fans of libraries, and also if you are in support of banned books, not banning books, but of the books that have been banned, and getting those into the hands of as many readers as possible, this book sounds like it's going to be one that you will enjoy as well. So this book is called Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books, and this is by Kirsten Miller, and this is published by William Morrow. So this book says, Beverly Underwood and her arch enemy Lula Dean live in the tiny town of Troy, Georgia, where they were born and raised. Now Beverly is on the school board, and Lula has become a local celebrity by embarking on a mission to rid the public libraries of all the inappropriate books, none of which she's actually read, to replace the pornographic books she's challenged at the local public library. Lula starts her own lending library in front of her home, a cute wooden hutch with glass doors and neat rows of the worthy literature that she's sure the town readers need. What Lula doesn't know is that a local troublemaker has stolen her wholesome books, removed their dust jackets, and restocked Lula's library with banned books, literary classics, gay romances, black history, witchy spell books, Judy Blume novels, and more. One by one, neighbors who borrow books from Lula Dean's library find their lives change in unexpected ways. Finally, one of Lula Dean's enemies discovers the library and decides to turn the tables on her, just as Lula and Beverly are running against each other to replace the town's disgraced mayor. That's when all the townspeople who've been borrowing from Lula's library begin to reveal themselves. That's when the showdown that's been brewing between Beverly and Lula will roil the whole town and change it forever. Does that not sound like such a fun book? I love that idea of kind of getting one over on someone who dedicates their lives to banning books and preventing people from reading what they want to read. I think that this is going to be hopefully a really good book, and I am excited to read this one. So the next book I'm excited about being released that week is actually from Akwaeke Emezi, which is exciting because I had no idea that they were releasing a new book this year. So I was really surprised when I saw this on some of the lists when I was doing my research. And this one sounds like it's going to be pretty intense. Like it could be a dark book, might be a little bit difficult to read, but I'm sure Emezi is going to guide us through it. So the publisher's website says, one weekend, the elite underbelly of a Nigerian city, a party that goes awry, a tangled web of sex and lies and corruption that leaves no one unscathed. So Ima and Kalu are a longtime couple who have just split. When Kalu, reeling from the breakup, visits an exclusive sex party hosted by his best friend Ahmed, he makes a decision that will plunge them all into chaos, brutally and suddenly upending their lives. Ola and Soraya, two Nigerian sex workers visiting from Kuala Lumpur, collide into the scene just as everything goes to hell. Sucked into the city's corrupt and glittering underworld, they're all looking for a way out, fueled by a desperate need to escape the dangerous threat that looms over them. So this book sounds dark, it sounds intense, it sounds like it's gonna be not the easiest read and probably have parts of it that are difficult to get through, but I am here for it. This is that balance I'm talking about. You have your fun books that we just talked about previously, and then we have our darker, grittier books, and I definitely think that this has the potential, especially with Akwaeke Emezi's reputation as a writer, to be a really interesting and good book. So looking forward to hearing more about that one. All right, so we are sliding into the last week of June, and that's gonna be the week of June 25th. And there are 4 books that I want to talk about. So the next book is actually by an author that I have read 2 previous books for, and I really enjoyed them. So as soon as I saw their name on this list, I was excited about this pick. And it is called A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. And this is being published by Berkeley. So Ashley's previous 2 novels, The 7-Year Slip and The Dead Romantics, I enjoyed both of those books so much. They are more paranormal romance and like weird romance. It's not your typical like Emily Henry's or God forbid your Colleen Hoover's. These are romance books that have unique little quirks, and I always enjoy reading her books so much, so I am really excited about this one. So this says, Eileen Merriweather loves to get lost in a good happily ever after. The fictional kind, anyway, because at least imaginary men don't leave you at the altar. She feels safe in a book at home, which might be why she's so excited about going on her annual book club retreat this year. She needs good friends, cheap wine, and grand romantic gestures no matter what. But when her car unexpectedly breaks down on the way, she finds herself stranded in a quaint town that feels like it is right out of a novel. Because it is. This place can't be real, and yet she's here in Aloriton, the town of her favorite romance series, where the candy store's honey taffy is always sweet, the local bar's burgers are always a little burnt, and rain always comes in the afternoon. It feels like home. It's perfect and perfectly frozen, trapped in the late author's last unfinished story. She is sure that's why she must be here, to help bring the town its storybook ending. Except there's a character in Aloriton that she can't place. A grumpy bookstore owner with mint green eyes, an irritatingly sexy mouth, and impeccable taste in novels. And he does not want her finishing this book, which is a problem because she is beginning to think the town's happily ever after might just be intertwined with her own. I know that sounds cheesy, I know it sounds campy, but it sounds like so much fun. It sounds like the Gilmore Girls, it sounds like all of those happy romance books that you just want to curl up on a rainy day to read. Now, actually, although this is being released in the summer, I feel like I might hold on to this one until fall. It actually, because it reminds me of the Gilmore Girls for some reason, that's a book that I might want to wait to read until fall, but it just sounds like so much fun. And of course, the love interest is going to be a grumpy grumpy bookstore owner. And why do they always have green eyes? I will never know, but it sounds fun, and it sounds like, even though there are going to be a lot of people rolling their eyes over this, I love stuff like this, and it is the perfect balance of camp and cheesiness that I need to balance out those tougher or more challenging, serious reads that I also tend to enjoy as well. The next book that I want to talk about being released the final week of June is a book called Bear by Julia Phillips, and this is being published by Hogarth. And this is another book that has a strange or weird premise, but I'm here for it. So it says on the publisher's website, they were sisters and they would last past the end of time. Sam and Elena dream of another life. On the island off the coast of Washington, where they were born and raised, they and their mother struggle to survive. Sam works on the ferry that delivers wealthy mainlanders to their vacation homes, while Elena bartends at the local golf club. But even together, they can't earn enough to get by, stirring their frustration about the limits that shape their existence. Then one night on the boat, Sam spots a bear swimming the dark waters of the channel. Where is it going? What does it want? When the bear turns up by their home, Sam, terrified, is more convinced than ever that it's time to leave the island. But Elena responds differently to the massive beast. Enchanted by its presence, she throws into doubt the desire to escape and puts their long-held dream in danger. A story about the bonds of sisterhood and the mysteries of the animals that live among us and within us. Bear is a propulsive, mythical, richly imagined novel from one of the most acclaimed young writers in America. So that sounds really interesting to me. The words that really stand out in that synopsis for me are mythical, and the section where it talks about the mysteries of the animals that live among us and within us. So to me, that tells me that this is going to be a very emotional book. It's probably tapping into a lot of human feelings that we don't maybe necessarily like coming to the surface. And it sounds like it's going to be a very intriguing read. And I love the fact that it says propulsive. I need those propulsive books in my life right now. I have had issues recently with books just being too slow or kind of a slog. I need those fast-paced reads, and this sounds like it is going to fit the bill. And plus, like I said, it has animal elements, and I always love reading books that have animals as part of the narrative. So the next book that I'm really interested in from this week is called Hombrecito, and it is by Santiago Jose Sanchez, and it is being published by Riverhead. And this book from the publisher's website says, in this groundbreaking novel, Sanchez plunges us into the heart of one boy's life. His mother takes him and his brother from Colombia to America, leaving their absent father behind, but essentially disappearing herself once they get to Miami. In America, his mother works as a waitress when she was once a doctor. The boy embraces his queer identity as wholeheartedly as he embraces his new home, but not without a sense of loss. As he grows, his relationship with his mother becomes fraught, tangled, a love so intense that it borders on vivid pain, but is also the axis around which his every decision revolves. She may have once forgotten him, disappeared, but she is always on his mind. He moves to New York, ducking in and out of bed with different men as he seeks out something, someone to make him whole again. When his mother invites him to visit family in Colombia with her, he returns to the country as a young man, trying to find peace with his father, with his homeland, and who he's become since he left, and with who his mother is. Finally, we come to know her and her secrets, her complex ambivalence and fierce love. So, first of all, I love mother-son books. I love the dynamic of those. They're usually multi-layered and a lot of emotions going on with them. Second of all, how horrible does that story sound with them fleeing from Colombia to America and those kids to basically get abandoned? And not only that, but for the one boy to continue to love his mother so intensely after that abandonment. So there's a lot to unpack there. I have lots of questions. I think that the synopsis gives me enough information to make this an interesting book that I want to seek out those answers. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, although it sounds like I'm gonna have to be in the right headspace for this, because it does sound like it's gonna be one of those books that makes you sad, but we all know I like those here, so I will embrace that, and looking forward to getting to that one soon. So the last book that I want to talk about from the week of June 25th is a book called The Liquid Eye of a Moon, and it's by Uchenna, Awoke, and it is by Catapult. And the only thing that I will say about this book and why I am so interested in reading it comes from the tagline and what it says. It is a Nigerian catcher in the rye. Uchenna Awoke's masterful debut breaks the silence about a hidden and dangerous contemporary caste system. So that sounds fascinating to me. I know that a lot of readers out there, you either love Catcher in the Rye or you are on the side where you think that anybody that says they love Catcher in the Rye is a red flag and you should run as far away from them as possible. I am middle of the road. I enjoyed my reading experience with Catcher in the Rye. I understand why it is beloved by so many, but I also understand the problems that lied in that book as well. But I do appreciate that whole coming of age type story, finding yourself, figuring out who you are, regardless of how ugly and messy that is. So the idea that we have a new contemporary book being compared to an American classic, and not only is it contemporary, but it is set in a rural Nigerian village, that to me just takes it over the edge and makes me super excited for that book. So really looking forward to that one as well. So that's it. Those are all of the books that I really had like screaming out to me that are going to be ones that I prioritize and kind of get my library holds in for if possible. And I'm sure there are a lot of other books that I have overlooked. These were just kind of the ones that I stumbled upon in my research, and if there are additional books that you think I overlooked or ones that you're excited about that I didn't mention, please let me know in the comments. And until we read again, bye.